Inclusion is it's very important. It's at the heart of every governance system. And why is that so? There's a reason we ask for partnership, because leadership should be a partnership from different ideas. When you have women and men involved, they can look at one issue from different perspectives and provide solutions that can address the generality of the population. Unlike when you have only men making decisions, because a man's experience is limited to his masculine experience. So some laws that may be made may not be favorable to women, but he wouldn't know because he's not lived as experienced as a woman. So one thing the law does when you have a representation of both sexes is that it ensures that the laws are gender sensitive. It caters to the needs of men, it caters to the needs of women. Same thing is difficult to have only women make laws that would affect men and women. So we're not even saying we want only women. We want men and women because that way you have two lenses to look at an issue that affects the population. Development looks at different sectors of the society: economy, health, education, technology, and a host of others. We need laws that caters to the several sections of the society and ensures inclusive growth and development. But when you don't have varieties of ideas and opinions across generation, gender, and disability, the laws we make and our policies will not capture the essence of the needs in our respective communities.
Honestly, I believe in inclusion. Why? Because inclusion is the best way of actualizing any decision to reach to the vulnerable group. Inclusion in governance means a lot. It's talking about ensuring any individual or group are brought into decision making, and their review should be considered in any occasion. That's the essence why President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, under his determination to make sure that every segment of the society was brought in board within the ambit of the new hope agenda. That is the essence why he created my office, to make sure that policy program of all the MDS, development partners, governors at subnational, to make sure their policy plan and program is all inclusion. That is the marching order and mandate that Mr. President gave me to liaise and work with all these entities of government and institutions.
No, I think it is good, honestly, because these are group of persons that have equal rights with you and I. I mean, a leper or a cripple or a blind has equal rights with the president of this country, because the country does not belong to a president or persons in authority. Those in authority hold these things in trust on our behalf. So, which means if we continue like this, they might not have an opportunity. So it will be good that we all agree that, look, anywhere that there is a competent disabled person should be given an opportunity. And that can only be done if the law is modified or changed. So I think it is good. There will be total inclusion, which means it's mandatory now that nobody should be discriminated against. And I hope we, the people of this country, will all agree that these are our brothers and sisters who happen to be either women, because the women too are disadvantaged. Find there are some states, in most states, there are even no women at all. In some cases, due to culture and religious background, so you find out that there are those exclusions. But I think if it's really put in the law, it will have further the ladies, the women, also the persons with disability.
Life is short, do what you can today. What can you do?
Certainly, it has to come through legislation. Otherwise, we are practicing democracy. You cannot force people to vote for either a woman or a person with disability. But if there's legislation to ensure that certain percentage is left for these kind of groups, and that also has consequences because not not in every part of society you have these kind of people. But women, yes, in every society you have women. So maybe if general public, we in this country agree that it should be done. So probably it can be done through private members' bill, or if the government feels so rightly to do that. But there are also political consequences because if the government of the day, whichever government, decides to bring such a bill that forces people to vote for persons with disability or youth, it could be used against that party politically. But rightly so, they are members of the public. I mean, some people get these inability, disability through nature, some through accidents. So I think it is also worthwhile for us to look at that because there are competent persons with disability. They should also be given opportunities to contribute to the growth of our country. But then there has to be concerted efforts among all the political parties that look. Because in the assembly you have convergence of all parties. So probably there could be an agreement that look, let somebody, even from the minority parties, to sponsor such a bill so that there will be inclusion, so that nobody will feel left out how the country is run.
Law is an instrument of social or a tool for social engineering. And if we want to truly achieve inclusion, especially women inclusion in government, in decision making in Nigeria, then we need a law that makes it mandatory. And which is why we're part of this support for this ongoing demand for reserved seats for women in the National Assembly. The journey of the reserve seat bill, it didn't begin in the 10th assembly. There's almost every assembly there's a proposal for either affirmative action for women in government, that is for elective offices and appointive offices. We've had several versions. In the last assembly, in the ninth assembly, this reserve seat bill was introduced, but at the point of voting, it did not secure the required two-third in both chambers, that's the Senate and the House of Representatives. And now we're back, and we've seen the need to have that. Why? Post the 2023 general elections, the number of women representation reduced. In the Senate, only 4 women won their seats, and we know that even amongst the four, one of the seats for the women, there's a lot of contention with the issue with Senator Natasha. In the House of Representatives, about 17 women had won their elections. Some won through the court, they had to go to court to fight through. Unfortunately, we lost one of our House of Reps female member earlier this year. There was a by-election conducted not long ago to refill that seat. Thankfully, we've gotten one woman winning because we have, from the by-elections, we had one woman from Edo who won a by-election for to refill the vacancy in the House. But the number is still low. So currently, we have less than 5% women representation in National Assembly.
Well, whether as a party there is a deliberate effort, yes, because we have youth wing, we have youth leaders, we have persons with disability on the national, on the working committees, or everywhere, the state and so on. But that's at the party level. But that is not enough because that is party, and of course, each of the parties have that kind of thing. And even at the government level, you find out that in all the states, I'm sure all, at least at federal level, you have advisors at the presidential level of persons with disability and so on. So as our party, yes, just like all other parties. So in terms of this, I think no party is different from the other. They have the youth wing, they have the youth leaders, they have the persons with disability seats and positions and so on. But to make it further better, I think legislation should come into play.
Politically, the ruling party has institutionalized institute persons with disability in the political space. We have national leader for persons with disability, which is also a persons with disability, is one of the national working committee member. You know, the seat of national working committee member is just like a minister. The government has provided this for us. If you go to the state level, 36 states, like where we have women leader, youth leader, we also have state person with disability in 36 states. Go to the ward and the local government board, and this is structure. But if you come to the elected position, this is why, because of the barrier and attitudinal challenge, behavioral of a human being, that is the reason why you see hardly persons with disability in a political space to be a senator or house representative because of challenge of the resources, because of challenge of godfatherism, because of challenge of environmental and social attitude and limitations. So many things is on board. And the only thing how we can achieve this, that is why the government today brought a solution by trying to bring special seats or to reserve a certain quota for persons with disability. Mr. President wants to see persons with disability occupy the seats of the Senate, Republic of Nigeria, House of Rep, to be the commissioners, not only to be SA or anything pertaining to persons with disability. We have a lot of potential, skills, productive persons with disability in Nigeria from every cadre that we know.
And we do not believe in engaging persons with disability from a place of charity. It's not, they are citizens. It's from a place of right. They have an equal right, like every one of us, to be represented. And if persons with disabilities are not in government, policies that are made are not disability sensitive. I'll give you a simple example. You travel to some developed countries, you will say things like even the way the buildings are structured is designed to cater for persons with disability, either those with physical disability or any other form of disability. So there is a mandate that at least every public institution is disability friendly. Every national convening is disability friendly. Then there are special economic policies that ensures that persons with disabilities needs are catered for. These are the things you achieve when you have the input of persons with disabilities in governance. There is a need to get younger people in. Nigeria's population estimate shows that about 60% and more are made up of young people. The median age in Nigeria is 18. 18, that's the median age. And it shows that we have a youthful population. But with this youthful population, youth representation in parliament is less than 10%. In fact, between 5 to 6%, if you put it together, both the National Assembly and the state assemblies. We have some younger people that won elections in the last elections. But what we're also seeing is that the political process is hostile to women, to youth, and persons with disability. Why do I say it's hostile? Money, for instance. Our elections are so monetized, it's so commercialized, that if you do not have big money back supporting you or big or huge, account somewhere, it's difficult to compete fairly and win. So from the party primaries process, women, youth, and PWDs are already weeded out. Because if you don't have the monies to buy nominations, it means you can't even contest in the primaries. You may say yes, you can get the nominations. If you cannot buy delegates or fund delegates, it means your voice is already excluded. And so because the process is not very friendly to young people, to women, to persons with disability, it becomes difficult for us to even have them emerge from candidate process, that's the party primaries, and then contest and win elections.
So far, we have almost getting to 28 states that sign disability law. They even create state commission for persons with disability. It's part of the law. But the issue and the challenges that we are having, we need to address it. We have all constitutional and guiding framework, and that's the issue. The essence why the National Assembly goes to the constitutional review based on geopolitical zone, why you can table up your issue and matters. Government is a settings, government is a process. One of the challenges that we are having is a legal framework, and we thank God now we have a legislator. In legislature, we have a chairman, house or committee for persons with disability, where they are working hand in hand in order to amend the constitution so that it can be in line. There must be a kind of vertical and alignment and horizontal alignment in policy. Whenever there is a policy gap, it will be very hard for you to implement. So with the act on ground, with the guidelines on ground, we are working hand in hand in order to align this policy with the pure implementation of this issue. And that is the essence why we are advocating for the special seat now. If you are following the channel of the National Assembly, special seat specifically for persons with disability.
It's either person with disability goes with to compete with persons that are able on the person's integrity or ability, it's able to win the election. So if that person wins, there is nothing reserved, so it's first amongst equal. But if you're talking about reservation of certain seats for them, it can only come through legislation, probably constitutional amendment. Because if you make just a law, ordinary law, that pass a bill to become an act, there could be an amendment much easier than if you put in the constitution. So probably we should holistically look at the constitutional amendment. There are people who are agitating that this country needs to be restructured. I think nationalities, people are not happy with that. So probably along those kind of agitations, and the members of National Assembly, and whichever part of the country feels aggrieved on any issue, should try to bring legislation. But then, the way the country or the constitution is structured, there are certain things that cannot be changed until you have 2/3 of the state assemblies. So it's a huge task, which means there has to be a convergence of the governors, the presidency, having to agree. Just like back in the days, I remember when certain parts of the constitution were changed, like when governors, both the president agreed that there should be independence of the legislature or independence of judiciary. Independence of judiciary, I think, has been passed, but the legislative the governors were not in agreement, so it didn't pass through. So whatever you need for the constitution to be changed, you need the cooperation of the governors so that they can talk to their state assembly, because there's a lot of difference between state assembly and national assembly. In national assembly, members of the opposition still have their say. And states, most states, in fact, all the states, most of the states, state assemblies are in the pocket of the governors.
Also, we need to review our political party system. That's why there's a lot of the electoral act provision that puts limits on campaign expense should be implemented so that people do not spend beyond their limits and that there's some level of regulation of money. That way, younger people, persons with disability, and women can compete fairly. The other thing is a proposal for a regulation to review how parties charge nominations. Because if parties keep putting high cost of nomination, it closes up the space. Beyond closing up the space, it even promotes corruption. Because the truth is, how many genuine business people who've paid monies would pay billions for elections? And if we don't regulate money in politics, it promotes the culture of corruption, it promotes the culture of impunity. We have made our system so money driven that people want to make money at all costs. And putting these regulations reduces how money determines the outcome of elections. We should not allow a system that is money driven, because what this would mean is we're building a system that is only those that have money that will lead. And we know that that does not mean the best of us are leading us. There's reduction of age to contest for office, thanks to the Not Too Young to Run bill that amended the constitution in 2018. But beyond that, can we also start ensuring that within political parties that there is concession made for youth candidates, young aspirants who want to contest in the elections? Either they are giving subsidies, subsidized rates for nomination, or that parties are also giving a quota to say for every primaries, you have to ensure that at least 30% are people below 35 and below. Because in Nigeria, once you're 25 years old, you can run for House of Reps or for state assemblies. When you're 35, you can run for Senate, governor, and president. So, can parties start even providing those quotas to enable and promote young people? This is not just beyond the parties, for our democracy. If the majority of the population do not feel that they are part of the system, they start losing interest. The future of Nigeria is dependent on the youth of today. And so our political class needs to realize that Nigeria has no future if the youth are not part of the decision making process. Young people need to be given the opportunity to take ownership, to take leadership. And it begins with our political process. Participation for me is not just about having people represent their categories or their constituencies. It's about sustainability of our democracy. It's about a development that is people driven.
Achieving inclusion in governance is a responsibility of everybody. Even though in the National Assembly, whenever you are doing recruitment, engage people under your aid, include person with disability in your constituency. Person with disability, they are not residing in Abuja. They have their constituency, they have their voters card, they are voting. We constitute the 25% voting population of this country, persons with disability. So you can see how they are adding value to the national development. So let us come together to achieve the inclusion of governance. It's not the responsibility of the governor, it's the responsibility of state actors and non-state actors and everybody involved so that we can achieve this. We have all the apparatus, we have all the indices. We are proud, I'm proud to be a Nigerian. Why? Because in the West Africa, Nigeria has won and has been placed in a high level as one of the countries that practice disability inclusion.
Well, let's talk about Gen Zs now. The challenges they are dealing with, a lot of these our parents did not deal with that when they were at that age because there was no social media, technological evolution. Now you have young people that don't need to be doctors. Not the career path is wide now. Some people are making money online just by doing their business online. They don't need to be in a physical office. But if you don't have youth voices, then how would you make laws to ensure that you're tapping into this digital economy in a way that safeguards the interest of the youth and safeguards the future of Nigeria. You see, we're talking about artificial intelligence. Countries are designing policies and intentional about how AI will develop the economy. And so when we talk about inclusion, we're not looking at it beyond just representation. It's about the sustainability of our development. And when you have women, young people, persons with disability, laws are a lot more in depth, broad, and intentional in addressing the issues. When you have representation from these special groups, you're also going to have policies that are responsive to the needs of the people. It's young people that will tell you what youth in agriculture care about. Young people will be able to tell you what the education system is like for them because they are the newer people, the newer product of our educational system. So they can tell you this education policy we have is no longer feasible. We need to review, we need to adapt, we need to evolve. But if you don't have the voices of youth in a lot of these politics and decision making, you wouldn't know that this is what is the current realities and this is how we can address it. Same also as women. When we're talking about insecurity, it's women that can engage other women in parts of the country ravaged by insecurity. Tell you this is the plight of women. You need more women in peace building. You need more women in this. This is how you can get a lasting solution to the issues in this community. So for me, it's achieving a comprehensive system of national thinking